Amen. Well, good morning again. Happy Father's Day again. If you're new here this morning, or if you missed last week, or you've have come and gone over the last couple weeks, we've been going over a sermon series called Road Signs for Life. And last week, Pastor Tom talked about the curves ahead sign. Didn't he do a great job on these signs that he made? He did them all himself. I taught him well. That's my parting gift to you. But last week we talked about curves ahead. And he talked about how we need to go through the curves slowly and not too fast. Because if we go too fast, we might get hurt. And he also talked about how when we go through these curves, God is with us through them, and we will get through them. But we're going to get right into things this morning. Today we're going to be looking at how to yield. On the road, a yield sign indicates that each driver must be prepared to stop if necessary to let a driver on another approach proceed. A driver who stops or slows down to let another vehicle through has yielded the right of way to that other vehicle. By definition, though, there's many different various meanings for the word yield. As a verb, it can mean a couple of these. It could mean to give forth or produce by natural process or in return for cultivation. So in banking terms, if you have a CD, it could yield a certain amount of interest depending on how much money you have. It could also mean this, number two, it could mean to give way to an argument. We see this in the political arena when there's a debate going on. Someone might yield their time because they're finished talking. Or number three, it could mean to give up or surrender oneself. Now this morning we're going to connect that last definition to give up or surrender oneself. We're going to take that and we're going to connect it to what it means to yield on the road, to give way, to let another driver on the road. Now, with the yield sign, when driving, we must be prepared to stop. In contrast, though, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the stop sign. And the stop sign requires each driver to physically stop before proceeding. But let's be honest here this morning, how many of us actually do stop or want to pretend the stop sign is a yield sign? You can admit it. God knows your true heart. So you don't have to pretend. Perhaps late at night, when no other cars are around, you just kind of roll up to a stop sign, don't fully stop, thinking you didn't have to completely stop, but you're ready to if you have to. And let's be honest with something else too. Who here, when driving, actually likes to let other cars ahead of you when you should be yielding to them? We don't always like to yield to others in traffic, because to yield to them, it means to surrender our spot in traffic and let another vehicle ahead of us. We don't like when other vehicles get ahead of us, do we? The nerve of them. But together we're going to look at how we can yield to God and how we can yield to each other, so we can give way and make room for everyone on the road. So how do we yield to God? It's simple. We do what James 4 verse 7 says to do. Submit yourselves therefore to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Now that sounds kind of like we're using the same word to describe a word. So let's go a little deeper, and let's read 7 to 10. And let's read from the Message translation. It's a little different verbiage, so it might get the impact across. This is what it says. It says, "So let God work his will in you. Yell a loud no to the devil and watch him scamper. Say a quiet yes to God and he'll be there in no time. Quit dabbling in sin. Purify your inner life. Quit playing the field. Hit bottom and cry your eyes out. The fun and games are over. Get serious, really serious. Get down on your knees before the Master. It's the only way you'll get on your feet." So honestly, I don't know how much clearer that can be. In order for us to yield to God, to submit to God, we need to quit playing the field. We need to quit dabbling in sin. We need to get serious about fully yielding to God. None of this half-yielding thing, because there's no such thing. A lot of times we think that we can half-yield to God. We can praise God and then kind of do our own thing the rest of the week. But there's no half-yielding in traffic, is there? You either yield to the incoming traffic or the oncoming traffic, and traffic goes smoothly, or you don't yield and risk not only injuring yourself, but injuring others. Now, why do we do this? I believe we do this. We have a clip here in a second. I believe we do this because we hear things, but we don't fully listen. Joe, do we have that clip?
Don't push this button. Because that will set off the bomb immediately, and we'll all be dead. Now repeat back what I just said. No! That's the button that will kill everyone! Try again. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. No!
So clearly he didn't fully understand what he was supposed to do. And we do the same thing. We don't fully listen. We hear what we're supposed to do. We read what we're supposed to do, but it doesn't fully sink in. Here's another example. You have two swimming pools. One swimming pool is an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And then on the other hand, you have a kiddie-sized swimming pool. Both filled with sin. I asked you this morning, what pool would you more likely drown in? One would say the bigger pool, right? Because it's just bigger. It's more likely for you to drown in. But that doesn't mean you can't drown in a kiddie pool. Granted, there has to be other variables in order for you to drown in a kiddie pool, but it still can happen. All you need is just enough sin to keep you numb. Numb enough that you don't know you're drowning. Sin makes you numb. And it can sometimes feel good temporarily, but some sin becomes socially acceptable. It becomes acceptable in society, but it still makes you numb nonetheless. And before you know it, you're face down in the kiddie pool of sin. How embarrassing is that? My point is, like Scripture is saying, we need to stop dabbling in sin. We need to get out of the kiddie pool altogether. And I'm sure it might feel weird at first, because who doesn't in the middle of summer like a little sin on your feet? But it's time to grow up, like Scripture says, and get serious. We need to yield to God. We must also yield to each other. This morning we read from Philippians 2, 3-4, and here again is the Message translation of those two verses. Agree with one another. Love each other. Be deep-spirited friends. Don't push your way to the front. Don't sweet-talk your way to the top. Put yourself aside and help others get ahead. Don't be obsessed with getting your own advantage, forgetting yourselves long enough to lend a helping hand. This morning, let us not look to our own interests, but to the interests of others. Can you imagine what the roadways would look like if none of us were in a hurry and we all forgot ourselves long enough to put others in front of us? Would traffic ever move? Could you imagine the roadways? Oh no, you go ahead of me. You have bags on the top of your car. You go ahead of me. Oh no, you go ahead of me. You have kids screaming in the back of your car. You go ahead of me. Oh no, you go ahead of me. You look like you're going somewhere important. No, your kid is screaming from his lungs. You go ahead. Would traffic ever move? Of course it would. We wouldn't be at a complete standstill with everyone waiting for the other person to go. That's not what Scripture is saying here. What Scripture is saying here is that you can forget about yourself long enough to put someone ahead of yourself. You'll survive if you don't get in front of the car you should be yielding to. You'll survive if you don't get everything you want, if it means someone else will get what they need. We must travel the roads of life together. It's not like you and I have our own private roadways that no one else can travel down, even though we think that they are. Has anyone ever tried to pretend the roadway was your own personal highway, going as fast as you can, trying to get as fast as you can to wherever you're going, even though it's not that important? We must travel through life together, sharing the roads and yielding to each other when necessary. We're all trying to maneuver our way so that we can ultimately reach our final destination. Now, with all this talk of roadways and road signs, it reminds me of what the United States looks like up from above. I don't like flying, but on the occasion that I have flown, I've looked down and seen all the roads. And if you look at them, they all kind of weave in and out together. And do you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a tapestry. I think we have an image. Luckily, with technology, do you have the road sign image? With technology, you don't have to fly or pull out one of those big maps. You can just Google map it, and I suggest, look at that. I mean, that's just this area. And look how they all weave together. And it reminds me of a tapestry. A tapestry is formed by weaving colored threads together to form a design or picture, and that's what our roadways do. We're all like threads. And there's a song called Threads by a Christian artist named Jeff Morin. These are some of the lyrics. They go like this. There is a thread running between the first and last breath that we breathe. And in this strand of flesh and bone reside the hopes and dreams we call our own. And there's a hand that sews the threads together around one strand of saving scarlet thread. Come as you are, weary, worn, and tattered. Come and take your place among the threads. Much like the roads, we're all like a thread, weaving in and out of each other. And this is my tapestry that I made. It's not as good as other tapestries. And it might be a little hard to see, but we are all like these different threads. Some of us are thicker than others. Some of us are thinner. This one's a little gold one. So some of us shine brighter than other threads, while other threads are dull and maybe frayed or kind of been put through the wringer a little bit. Some of us are different colors, and that's okay because it adds to God's tapestry. Some of us don't really get that far. We only reach so far. Some of us get tangled up where we unfortunately have to get cut loose. Some of us get tangled, but then somehow we reach the other side by getting untangled. Some of us only go so far, but then others start where others left off. Now, no matter where you start or where you end, no matter if you're a really loose thread. Anybody know any loose threads? Yeah? Maybe I might be considered a loose thread. Some of us know threads that are wound so tight they're about to snap. But no matter where you started, no matter where you end, no matter if you've gotten tangled or thrown off course, no matter if you're a loose thread or a tight one that's wound so tight you might snap, our life tapestry, God's tapestry, is all built and woven around one single scarlet thread, which is Jesus Christ. Now, my thread today is going in a different direction. I'll be weaving in and out of other threads in a different direction. Just like how you here at this church body will hopefully weave new threads in and out as part of God's tapestry of Lifegate Church. And as I conclude here this morning, I'd like to leave you with this thought. And it may not have anything to do with today's message per se, but I'm going to conclude with it anyway. A couple months before my grandmother passed away, she would constantly tell me to not give up the church. And she would tell me this every single time I visited her. And I was pretty much there every day. So she said this all the time. Don't give up the church. Don't give up the church. And at the time, I thought maybe it was from the complication of the low sodium or effects from the anesthesia after the surgery. But she would constantly tell me not to give up the church. And I'd be like, I'm not. And this is during my time of going through the local licensing process. So, I wasn't giving up the church. But after reflecting upon that, I choose to take that as what she said as a life lesson and not to write it off as just something she was saying in her confusion. Because I believe she knew exactly what she was saying. And I believe we all need to be reminded of that. So I leave you with this. Don't give up the church. Don't give up this church. There's so much left to do. So yield to each other and yield to God. Amen.